Finally! Happy New Year, everybody, from the Weekly Steelchair. And it's good to be back. The host, the father, the godfather, the owner, I wish. I'm the owner of this show. Hello, everybody. It's Reece, the host of Weekly Steelchair, joined by my co-host Eilidh for the first Steelchair show of 2023. Yeah, no way. 2023. I mean, we're already 7 days in and we're already 7 days late. But hey ho, that's the Steelchair. We like to do things differently. But then again, we do things our way. It's cooking. How you doing, Eilidh? Good to see you.
Yeah. Happy New Year to everyone watching, everyone catching up. Hopefully
Happy New Year, yeah,
2023 has got everything in store. And of course, Happy New Year to you as well, Reece. But I have messaged you in the planning
You
since.
have.
And it seems like at the start of this year, something happened and some sort of wrestling news bomb has gone off.
It has.
Because there are stories everywhere. And I don't think we could have picked a better time to return to the Steelchair than this one. So yeah, I'm excited to get into this, and I'm sure you're feeling the same way.
Oh, I certainly am. Like you know how much I love this show. Like you know how much like time and effort we put into this. Like it's like the funny thing is, I'm just going to explain our I'm going to explain to everybody our thought process right now. Literally, what me and Eilidh do for a show. Me and Eilidh go 4 days without talking. Right, 4 days. Like that. That's how good we are. 4 days, good mates, good show. Like good show host, good co-host, a lot. Right. We go 4 days. So the Sunday, the Monday, the Tuesday, and the Wednesday, we don't talk because we assimilate all the wrestling that's happened since. That's what we do. We have our Steelchair show on the Saturday. We take 4 days break because Eilidh can't stand me for another day after. Just kidding. And then the Thursday and the Friday, doesn't matter what time, we just do it. We just pop up, we talk, and then we go, right, what's the plan? This week's show, I spoke to Eilidh previously, and I'll be discussing it very shortly, obviously. Very timely. If you're not into to TNA Impact or Impact Wrestling, as it is now, obviously Eilidh isn't familiar with him, but that's okay. At least Eilidh told me straight up. But at least I've got some of it. Because obviously I watched this guy at his best as a commentator. Don West passed away, so we will be discussing. Well, I'll be discussing about him, like giving Eilidh a little history lesson.
Yeah, there's a history lesson with Reece. So I suppose we'll be able to check the analytics after and see when people clicked up. No, honestly, do stay around for the Don West education. I'm a tutor by trade, so it's going to be quite weird for me to be on the other side of it. But no, eager to learn.
Isn't it?
And someone who isn't so eager to learn, someone who isn't so eager to change, and someone who is, unsurprisingly, our top story on this Saturday afternoon, Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Absolutely,
has wandered his way back into the company. This news has obviously been everywhere. You don't have to sort of, we're not the beacon of breaking news here. Everyone knows this. Vince McMahon's back. There's been shuffles and shifts back, sort of in the office, in the company side of the wrestling company. Yeah. And it's apparently all pointing in one direction. And that, as he's known for saying, Daddy said sell.
Yes. And that is fundamentally where things could go right, could go wrong. I know what side I'm on, but hey ho, I mean, we'll get there. I also wanted to say as well, because also I mentioned this about, I mentioned this to Eilidh last night, and this is purely entertainment. I messaged Eilidh about 3 o'clock last night discussing the show, and there was one other thing as well, funnily enough, that happened last night, just for pure entertainment. I tweeted a man, and I didn't get a reply, but I actually got a like off the man himself. So I'm actually going to kindly just share my screen briefly. So don't worry about.
You got to bump that clout out there. You got to hashtag humble brag.
Exactly. I've got to do this because this is just sheer brilliance. I'm just going to do it right now. because he didn't just like one tweet; he liked 2 tweets. So I just want to put right in there. 4th name down. A certain Mr. Carrying Cross liked my tweet from last night. I've made it. I'm happy with that. Buzzing as is, say the least. All I did was tweet him saying I tweeted him twice. It was just like 2 videos that I'd done like during SmackDown. One of them was actually no, it was an edit and a video, and I was like, it's buzzing to see Karrion Kross and Scarlett Bordeaux team up, because like they are a genuinely good in-ring duo, and they're really good on and off the mic. And then I also tweeted him saying I can't wait to see him square off with Rey Mysterio TikTok. And he liked it as well. So what can I say? This is why I said last year that he would be world champion, because this guy understood me in 2023. So I'm happy.
Right. Well, of course, you're buzzing to see Karrion Kross, but the news backstage, the word backstage, and everything that's coming out, and just sort of general common sense would tell you that not everyone in Connecticut is so happy to see the former boss back. Of course, he retired only last year, and he's already walked his way back in, but apparently to facilitate a sale. And this is where I'm torn, Reece, and you can sort of help me out here.
Of course.
My biggest problem with the Vince McMahon thing is that he is a criminal. And
yes, he
it's
is.
another thing of a rich guy getting off with things that he shouldn't get off with, and that people without his wealth and power wouldn't get off with. You're looking at, there are huge comparisons to Donald Trump, not least because he decided to return on January 6th. And if I have to explain that one, you can go and find a different political podcast to explain it to you. But that's
nice analogy,
not mine either. It's
nice
not
analogy.
mine either. I can't claim it. But
sadly,
my problem isn't that Vince McMahon is actually back in the company. It's not like as a wrestling fan, it's as a human being. I have a problem with him getting his power back, the same way I have a problem with Donald Trump going for the presidency again.
Yes.
In terms of actually facilitating the sale, that makes perfect sense to me. This is a guy, it was his money, his investment, it's his seed that he has sown and grown and watered and fed. So it's only right that when that seed grows into this magnificent tree we know it as, and bears all the fruits that we take for granted today, when he wants to sell the tree, he gets to decide the price. And
exactly.
I don't actually have a problem with that. And I think so long as Vince McMahon doesn't shuffle his way back into any sort of creative control, which I don't think he will. And I don't think he will because the meeting was headed up by Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan.
Correct.
The meeting that said Vince isn't going back into creative. There's no reason for Stephanie to betray Triple H. Doesn't make sense.
Which has been confirmed by Ringside News. Triple H will stay in creative control. This was confirmed last night.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no reason that Nick Khan would lie, because he ultimately wants to sell the company as well.
He does.
So why would any company want to do business with a company that makes public statements and then goes back on them?
Exactly.
It's not a good look. So I don't think we have to worry about Vince McMahon coming back to creative. I think everything that's in place creative-wise now is the way that they are going forward. I don't think it changes much there. I do think it is all to do with this big sale. But that could just be me.
Of course, and I completely understand and agree with you. There is one thing, though, that you mentioned there, and I can elaborate on this a little bit more because I've been looking into it. I've been seriously looking into it with a lot of fellow podcasters like Graham Matthews as well, for example, who engaged with me last night about, funnily enough, about Hit Row's heel turn. I just called them Skid Row because they were falling off a cliff.
It's not a band, Skid Row.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was just looking into it further. I've been looking at what he's been saying. I've been looking at what Ringside News have been saying. I've been trying to keep anything I can, and I'm trying to not make a biased decision on it, but from what I can see, since Vince announced his return last night, and then considering what's happened, several members of the board have been removed, because Vince does have that overall control and that power. He has removed several members of the board. One of those is the investigator that investigated the actual incidents that Vince has caused with.
Is it not the case that the investigator just walked out?
From what they're saying, he's been fired, but I don't believe.
I thought he was one of the two that resigned. I can't remember the other one's name.
There was talk.
Two resigned after the deed was done. So two were removed, so that
and he's
I
now
forget their names. Two people came back on.
I can get you the names just now, actually. But it
one of them starts with a B, I think, and I can't remember for the life of me. I've got a laptop right here, but I will trust your. But yeah, basically, two of them were removed to give Vince and his two cronies the seats on the board, and then two people have just up and walked out. And one of them, you are right in saying, is the chief investigator of the Vince McMahon misconduct. And that's interesting in itself, because what was the investigation trying to prove?
That's what interests me. There it is there that I quit. That's literally what it is. I just from Instagram, so I've done a quick search from Instagram because I follow Ringside News. It's just literally a sticky note saying I quit, and it's lead investigator in Vince McMahon's hush money scandal resigns from board of directors. Vince McMahon was chairman of WWE for several years, as we know. The lead and recent reports suggest that McMahon plans to return to WWE. He already has, and that's exactly what happened. As McMahon is back on the board of directors of WWE. Right after that, the lead investigator into McMahon's assault allegations resigned from the board. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful took to Twitter and reported that Manjit Singh, who was the lead investigator, has resigned, and Ignace Lahoud has resigned as well. But Manjit Singh was the lead investigator. See, the thing is, right, it says resigned.
Yeah, that's how I read it.
I don't think they have. I generally think because of what's going on, Vince's money and influence.
The investigator would have resigned. I feel like the investigator would have just went, well, what's the point of me then? Because the investigator found things. The investigator found, you all right? The investigator found that he'd broken the law.
He has done.
He has. And the assault isn't the thing that they were looking into, really, because the police can deal with the assault and it was settled out of court and everything like that. There isn't really a thread there.
It was company money.
It's embezzlement.
Yeah.
He's embezzling money from the company. And if that's been found to be the case, that is highly illegal. And should at very least have him removed from the company. The problem is, if it was anyone else embezzling company funds, off you go. Vince McMahon has 80% of the shareholders' say. 80%. You think the Glazers are bad? You know?
Exactly.
Vince McMahon was able to stranglehold his own company until they went, okay, we're going to have you back.
Absolutely. And the Yeti Boy, to confirm, this is correct as well. Yeah, he also said that because Vince, and this is something that actually he did prior to his retirement, which is really, really interesting, is everything that goes through WWE in terms of media deals runs through Vince McMahon. So literally, this is the year, like over WWE's period, where it's like, I think it's 3 to 4 years WWE have a contract over media deals with certain organizations, certain companies.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, 2023 is the year that WWE are now going to negotiate a renegotiation over media deals and contracts, and it also involves platforms.
The USA deal, they all come up at the same time. So Raw, SmackDown, NXT. The one thing I'm not clear on, though I don't get why it would be different, I would think BT Sport as well.
BT Sport will certainly come into it, but I think they're further. I think they're a further year on. I think they are. I'm not 100% sure.
Right. And if I'm thinking, if they're always done in 3-year deals, BT Sport was 2019.
It was, yeah. All good as well,
So,
Liam.
yeah.
Good to see it, because that was after Sky Sports obviously faded, which is the best thing that ever happened to them because it wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, BT
Hope
Sport have been fantastic, and I hope that they're able to keep it. But
so do
when you
I,
look at the prospective partners now for WWE,
and this is true.
if Vince just gets to that's very true, Sharv. I mean, just look at
You're spot on, buddy. You're spot on.
just look at the elite thing. Just look at Brawl Out. That was an
Yeah.
internal investigation, and then
One thing I'm going to do as well is I'm just going to start some any comments or questions that come up, I'll star them, because we will have throughout the show, we will have a period where we'll just answer questions.
absolutely, yeah.
So Willie, I've seen your question, and I will come back to it because there is some very interesting news, particularly from the promotions you've actually mentioned. We will certainly come to those about next 10 minutes. I think purely for the topic in hand, we have to keep this going for another 10 minutes. We're going to be here for about 2 hours today. We have literally got a massive show.
So much to cover.
We will be here for about 2 hours.
Yeah. We've got to make sure that no stone is left unturned, no stone cold left unturned heel.
Absolutely.
But
so we'll come here. So any questions? Sorry, just saying there. Sorry. Any questions? Get them in. We'll come to them at 4:30. We will come to them at 4:30. You've got my guarantee on that.
Yeah. Get your questions in. But when you look at prospective media partners, then obviously, easy bet would be that they just sell to Fox. If they sell to Fox, though, that's then Disney, isn't it?
Yes.
So when people say, "Oh, I don't think WWE would be sold to an international company like Disney," I think someone like Fox would buy it instead. That is Disney. Disney just bought Fox. They didn't become like media shareholder, whatever.
Full
much
control.
Like with Marvel, much like with Star Wars, they just went, "We're just going to buy that," and then they just did. So what
and
would
they always
really
invest
change?
well.
Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, I think it's in good hands with Disney. I do think Disneyland would get a bit weird if they start leaning into it like that. But maybe there's a place for it. Wrestling is still popular among many children. I'm sure they'd be able to launch something pretty huge there. The other curveball is Amazon. If Amazon fancied having a weekly episodic sports show or sports entertainment show, which Disney obviously doesn't really have, Amazon doesn't have as of yet, because it's not really a format that's been tested on mainstream streaming platforms, and that's because no wrestling company is big enough to do it.
Only one does it that me and you're familiar with, and that's Fight TV.
Yeah, Fight TV is like its own thing. We're not talking like Amazon Prime Video, or
right,
Disney Plus, or Netflix,
or Paramount.
Paramount, the new one.
I completely agree with you. And this is what concerns me is, I think in terms of quality, resource, and production, Amazon wouldn't actually be a bad shout. It wouldn't be in that sense, but I hope to hell, and I say this in the nicest way, I hope it does not go to Amazon. Because as much as I enjoy Prime Video and I enjoy my Fire Stick I use for IPTV, but in terms of this going on to there, it's always far behind. When you watch something live compared to episodic produced from Amazon, it's always 2, 3, 4 minutes behind. Now, even if you've got good media, even if you've got good bandwidth and a good internet connection, you're still going to be so far behind. BT Sport app, at least something like that, even if you can stream it, you're only going to be about a minute or so, a minute and a half behind. Even the WWE Network, it's about 30 seconds when we done that watch along. It was about 30 seconds behind, but we were still getting something good. Amazon is good, but for that purpose alone, the timing, I don't think that's something that they're physically in control of, but I wouldn't trust that because it's already over social media 2 minutes later. Or, for example, if it's a world title match, 2 minutes later, or you've just missed the ending.
Yeah, you'll have an AEW sort of problem where, and I've noticed AEW are doing this less and less. They used to upload the clips of their own show but they would be 7 or 8 minutes. It wouldn't be like the WWE condensing 3 hours down into like 8 minutes of clips over the whole show.
It's just not easy.
Things like MJF's pipe bomb were available on YouTube in full the next day.
Exactly.
And the CM Punk Eddie Kingston confrontation that got everyone talking, it was available in full on YouTube the same day. Like, it's unbelievable how quickly that can travel. So I absolutely get it with your whole if it's not completely on time and people are seeing it beforehand,
It really isn't fair.
spoil things.
Exactly, and that's the problem, because people love to engage, they love to have conversation, but if it's so far behind, it really is a problem. And this would, personally, I will admit, we will be coming to this man very soon, but it would be funny. This is an interesting comment, and I actually want to get your perspective on this as well. And Charles, by all means, give me your perspective as well, because I actually do really admire the fact you've come onto it. But I'm saying this from an honest perspective. I disagree, and the reason I disagree is, which company owns the UFC?
Well, it'd be ESPN, wouldn't it?
It's Disney.
Yeah, ESPN through. So Disney through
yeah.
ESPN, yeah.
And that's mixed martial arts. That's combat sports. They've already got that experience of producing it, and they fund it really well, and they've kept the right people in charge. Dana White, obviously, even though he can be an absolute clown at times, he still understands the world of mixed martial arts and combat sports. It's
two
correct.
words to add to it as well, though, Reece. 2 words.
Go on.
Rob Fee.
Yes.
Former Marvel writer, this guy.
Brilliant man.
Goes to WWE. Disney would put a content team in. But you've also got to realise that any streaming service that gets it, you are going to have layoffs. You are going to have reshuffles.
Oh, yes.
And it's not nice at all. But this happens whenever a company changes hands.
Mm-hmm.
The fact remains that Disney get their own content writers.
Fair comment. There is parts of WWE that I will agree is on that level. Not all of it, but there is some of it, and one in particular is Monday Night Raw. But I'll explain that in 5.5 minutes.
Yeah, what I don't want you to be guilty of, Willie, is viewing everything as a completely empty glass. You know, that old thing of half full, half empty, and it's about how you see it. And this is coming from me. So, you know, we're on the same level here, Willie.
Now you know, buddy.
I'm a very pessimistic person about the wrestling.
All
you have to do is watch previous broadcasts, and you'll see how I've come at things with a very negative and pessimistic view at points.
True. And Yeti Boy is also correct as well.
Calling WWE entirely garbage is a discredit to the people who are working hard. And try not to let the people at the very top of the ladder sour your opinion on the people who are on the rungs below them. So because Vince McMahon's back, that doesn't mean Seth Rollins can't wrestle anymore. It doesn't mean AJ Styles can't wrestle anymore. It doesn't mean the Bloodline aren't entertaining. It doesn't mean Paul Heyman isn't a legend.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean that all these people that we see their talent week in, week out are bad just because the company side of things is shady. Because if you could take the lid off every single major company office, and I mean Amazon, I mean Disney, I mean WWE, I mean Kellogg's for the cereal, you would find corruption.
Oh yeah,
that's
everywhere.
Companies. So if your opinion of it being like a cruise ship, the Titanic as you named it, is because it's so corrupt behind the scenes, watch Wolf of Wall Street.
Good choice. Completely correct. But I'm gonna throw this out to Willie, because to be fair, and everyone that watches our show, we completely appreciate everyone's opinion on the show. Like, there is not a single opinion on here that we discredit, right? We don't.
Yeah, that's the thing. When we disagree, we're not saying that your argument is invalid.
Absolutely. And this is what I'm going to throw towards you now, Willie. And this is just a genuine question. I just want your genuine opinion. Why is it that to you? Is it because of what Eilidh's mentioned about the corruption behind at the top scenes? or purely is it the product itself is not assimilating to you compared to the fact that you've mentioned the likes of Impact, you've mentioned UWN, you've mentioned New Japan Pro Wrestling, all of that, and AEW. Is it the difference in product, or is it the top level? What's the difference? What is it that corresponds to you in that way that's making you say it's like the Titanic? Because if anything, for me, and I'll say this personally, I did at one time think WWE was completely gone. Not because the product was bad, it was just direction and it was what was going on. But they've tried to at least change that and they've tried to make it better. And for the past couple of months, even throughout that, it was actually showing something of, for me, like a believable factor. But there is still some deep-rooted issues that will take time to fix. Will they be able to fix it? I really don't know. But at least he's came back to me, and I actually respect that. It's the top level in the matches. Okay, the matches in question, is it too similar to you? And this is a fair point. Is it too similar because it's always the same competition? Or are you finding that they're not doing enough choreographical-wise and storytelling? Because if anything, I appreciate all these comments, literally from everybody. And Sharv, I agree, it has improved from that period of time.
No, the 18-19 was gross.
I would say
it was like Dogs of War level stuff, and you would have had the John Moxley leaving story, and just sort of Dean Ambrose. I just gave him wow. That's probably the first time I've accidentally called Ambrose Moxley. I usually do it the other way around. You had the Dean Ambrose leaving storyline, and you just had so many terrible things going on in 18-19, which I think, to be fair, the turning point for that was Drew McIntyre winning the Rumble.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that was the sign that 2020 was going to be the year that, okay, we are actually going to start putting this back together. And we're going to start, and obviously they couldn't help the pandemic. No one could help the pandemic. But we got through that, and we're mostly out the other side of it. And of course, people are still unwell with it, and that's not meant to be a sort of dismissal of the current ills in society or anything like that. But I think WWE, there's a saying in football, remember, where you're sometimes looking down the table and you're sometimes looking up the table. I think WWE can at least start looking up the table now. You know, they've gotten through this sort of turbulent content period. People are interested in what Triple H is doing with the show. It is mostly connecting. There is at least something on every show for every fan. And that's really what we've got to aim to do. You know, Mick Foley said, a smile on every face by any means necessary. And that seems to be what WWE is aiming to do. And I can't fault that. So I think whoever this ends up with, whichever major streaming service buys it or whatever happens.
Or a certain state nation.
Yeah, well, I certainly think that they're still in good hands on the content side of things. Now, of course, we didn't discuss what happens if a nation state buys it.
Which we will come to very shortly. But I did promise that we will answer some questions. And
let's launch into some questions. Let's go.
Yeah, and I have starred a couple of comments as well, but I also just wanted to say as well that hello, Princess. It's good to see you, and I hope you're okay. But in general, and I've highlighted all of, and I'm saying this in a nice way. I've highlighted all of Willie's comments. I've highlighted a comment by Sharv, and I've highlighted a couple of Yeti Boy comments. So we are going to go back. First of all, to this question, and I'm going to bring it up right now. So Willie's asked, is there any news from several promotions such as All Japan, NWA, UWN, and Impact? Okay, so quickly, I'll start with Impact Wrestling. Obviously, next Friday is Hard to Kill. The first pay-per-view of the year for Impact. They are looking at the direction of right now in terms of they're actually trying to make more improvement short term. I said this last year, and Eilidh will probably disagree, but she knows I said this like straight from the off last year. I said last year the best run company for about 4 or 5 months was Impact. I said it from about January, February, all the way through to about June. I said it like that. I said it was
I can't argue that it's not because I didn't watch it. I saw a couple of pay-per-views. that
Yeah.
I may have not paid for.
Don't worry about it. Everyone's been in that. But they are trying to look at the short term, and they are trying to make things, they are trying to change things up. And obviously, recently, for example, Josh Alexander has recently broken Bobby Roode's world title record run. And it's now record setting at 258 days. So that's now continuing. But he is now in that long-term run with what I like to call Chubby Ray Suckley. Sorry, Bubba Ray, Bully Ray. He's in that long-term program with him, but it looks like they are looking to change things up, because it's not that Josh Alexander's run is fading, but purely it's the heat right now is on Bully Ray, that they're actually looking and considering putting the title on Bully Ray as of Hard to Kill next week in the Full Metal Mayhem match. So there is a change that Bully Ray is going to be a three-time world champion as of next Friday. And personally, I hope not. But the fact that he has got all this heat at the minute, it transcends that they're actually getting so much more pressure. They're not getting more pressure from rival companies, but they're getting more pressure from their own performers. Because in recent weeks, the numbers have been different week to week. Literally, last week's Impact, Bully Ray puts through Bruce Pitcher through a table and the ratings spiked. It spiked. Like, that is generally the way they're going. And it's actually based on that, because they're actually looking to do more shows with the likes of New Japan this year. They want to go back to the TNA Impact versus New Japan era. If you can remember from mid 2000s, they did that. They are looking to do that as well. They want to have like their world champion go over to Japan, wrestle their world champion, and then come back like what they did years ago, similar to what the NWA did. Speaking of the NWA, Nick Aldis is actually in the Royal Rumble. Matt Cardona is in the Royal Rumble, but I'm not telling you how I know that. But they are in it. So that's two major players that obviously has recently left their organization, is now going to be in the flagship event of the WWE, of the Battle Royal, which is the Royal Rumble.
I'm intrigued by that.
Tyrus is still the main man, unfortunately. Tyrus is still the world champion. God forbid. But there is apparently rumours that throughout the year they may be putting the world title on Chris Masters. I don't know why. I think that's absolutely insane, because the guy is finished.
But he is better than Tyrus.
Very true. But so is EC3. So is my gran, and she can't wrestle.
But maybe they don't trust EC3. Look at that guy. Yeah, look at that guy. Look at what he's done.
Exactly.
You know, you'd rather put it on a safer pair of hands like Chris Masters. And obviously, who has a safer pair of hands than the man who does the Master Lock? It's the Hurt Lock now. Never mind. Yeah, the Nick Aldis thing's interesting, because on one of the shows last year, I said to you, I don't think Nick Aldis gets a reaction at the Rumble. I don't think enough people know who he is. I think he's almost got to be a not surprise appearance. If he's signing for WWE, has to appear on a show before. And we need to have it explained to us, the general audience, that Nick Aldis, former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, he's done this, he's done that. Mention TNA if you must. And then it'll maybe get the reaction that it needs. But I don't think he gets a surprise pop return. If Zack Ryder comes back as Zack Ryder, I think that gets a pop.
I get that, and to be honest, with Chelsea Green coming in, Chelsea Green is due to come in obviously this year. Disgusting that they chose her over Deonna Purrazzo, but what do I know? I mean, I know a better female wrestler.
I don't think she would have come back. I
know, but still, like they should have pulled. They should have done everything to get her, in my opinion, because she is the best thing going in pro wrestling for a woman. But in terms of that's speaking of women, obviously, Mercedes Moné has now gone obviously to New Japan.
Oh no, Mercedes Moan.
Moan, but I call her Moné because I'm being generous. She's obviously went and had a fantastic debut match over there. They are not like, the funny thing is though is, in terms of that, I still don't see a long-term picture for her.
Wait,
I really
she had
don't.
A match?
Yeah. Yeah, she had a match.
In All Japan?
New Japan. All Japan's slightly different though, but like
she appeared
All Japan,
on New Japan.
She had a match.
On the show.
Have you been under a rock?
She appeared.
She also had a match.
Did she on that show?
Oh, you worry me sometimes.
I don't remember that. Are you saying she had a match on Wrestle Kingdom?
She's had a match quite recently, yeah.
On Wrestle Kingdom, though?
Yeah, she still sucks, though.
I watched that show. Was it pre-show?
She's had a match in the meantime, yeah. And I'm saying this now, he won't return as Zack Ryder.
You've got me Googling.
I love to just get into your brain.
Who'd she face? What? Right. Tam Nakano took on Kyrie.
She's been doing like a lot of other things, but not.
And then Mercedes Moon came out.
She's not had a match with the Japanese though. Just remember this, yet, boy. She's not had a match with Japanese. Like she's had like very, very low cut crap. But she did do this on their main show. She did attack Kairi Sane. I mean, it makes no sense for her. She isn't good enough. But she's actually had a match recently, from what's been going around. That's what I've seen anyway. But it wasn't with them. It was like some sort of like low key women's production. I don't know who it was.
All it says here is that she appeared.
Yeah, that's literally just from what I've seen. It wasn't from their show. It was something else. Like I know she did attack Kairi Sane, but it was like a low key production because she's trying to keep herself into.
Yeah, talk about how I'm living under a rock. I watched Wrestle Kingdom. I know she's there. I know she looks horrendous.
I don't think she should be at Wrestle Kingdom. I
know she looks horrendous. I know her promo was awful.
Oh, I disagree.
Oh, no.
No, that's Deonna Purrazzo.
Right, here's the thing, but here's what I'll say to that. Take Becky Lynch out the WWE. WWE hurts. Charlotte Flair returned to WWE, got a massive pop. You take Bayley out of WWE, WWE suffers. You take Asuka out, and WWE suffers. You took Sasha Banks out, and you barely noticed she was gone.
She's shit, mate.
Charlotte exists. Well, she's face. We got to cheer her now.
Fantastic mention. Camille is outstanding. And funnily enough, she's Women's World Champion because of Nick Aldis. There you go. Proper talent being recognised. Charlotte, and I'm saying this right now, and a lot of people believe this, I don't. People think Charlotte Flair's in top 5 women's wrestler of all time. Charlotte Flair's not even top 10 for me.
Yeah. Anyway, I feel like we've gone off the rails a little bit. So what were the other questions in there? Now that you've reminded me, actually informed me.
From what you've seen, but to be fair, I don't pay attention to what she's done on Dynamite. I pay attention to what she's done on Impact. And if anything, she actually brought one person. She actually did one thing that really was on the brink. She actually saved Mickie James from retiring. She actually gave her a match of the quality she actually deserved. That Texas Death match they had was absolutely phenomenal. I recommend watching it. But there were a couple of comments, obviously, because Yeti Boys actually put this up. This was actually a fantastic comment. Ruined British wrestling and monopolised it in general. They monopolised it, yes, but ruined British wrestling. Nobody talks about why you would say it anymore.
I get why you would say it, but they didn't ruin British wrestling. And this is going to sound very company and very, I've got my WWE defense head on. They revolutionized British wrestling. You only know of people like Tyler Bate, like Pete Dunne, Butch, Jordan Devlin, and I could go on, Ilya Dragunov, even Gunther. You only know about them to the level that you know about them because WWE took over the UK scene with NXT UK. And now they've shut NXT UK to form NXT Europe.
Which is going to flop.
Continued to thrive. ICW continued to thrive. There will be others. OTT?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like ICW's been in my hometown a few times.
Yeah, there's probably others that I'm forgetting about, and I'm sorry. I'm going off the 2 that Progress. There's the 3rd one. I was like, there's 3 that I've actually seen bits of: Rev Pro, Progress, and ICW, and they've all looked okay. They've all been fine.
Yep.
Because there's enough wrestlers in the world. Wrestling, in a way, is kind of like football when you get your fans together. The quality of it doesn't actually have to be that good if the storyline is compelling.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's a good comment. Like, they did nearly die. That's very true. Willie, some fantastic mentions here. And I'm going to say two of these in particular. I absolutely rate Rosemary. I think she's absolutely brilliant what she does. Like, I love the gimmick that she's got. It's been one of the absolute best for years. Like, in fact, that Impact was able to maintain it for so long. Havoc, fantastic. I think Ruby Reyes is extremely underrated. Jordan Grace is an absolute machine. There's one from my childhood, obviously, that resurfaced over the last year, and I'm actually glad that she did, because she was fantastic in TNA in towards the end of the 2000s, and that's Taylor Wilde. Incredibly underrated as a talent. She's came back in the past year, and she actually looks like she's never stopped wrestling. Completely brilliant. Sounds like you have no.
That was your suggestion going, what? Right over my head.
She was awesome, and like,
right.
like just the work she did with Awesome Kong, like back in the 2000s, was absolutely superb.
Yeah. Were there other questions that you have starred?
No, not there. Just a couple of good comments, but I do disagree with this though. That Sharv says that the production quality of Impact is very bad. I disagree. I think the production quality is actually good for what they've got financially. The problem is the amount of money they have to deal with. This is also true. They do ruin several. Like, there has been that sort of issue before. Jobbers coming in, they've not done anything, they've not amounted to anything, but that's literally what a jobber is. The problem is though, is you don't see enough. My biggest issue though is I'm still laughing at it. I'm still laughing, even though I like Charlotte. I disagree with this. I respect the opinion, but Charlotte Flair does not get anywhere near top 5 for me. Yeah, Velvet Sky was better, but that's just my opinion. But Angelina Love's underrated. She is. She's really good talent, and so was Madison Rayne. To be fair, I thought Madison Rayne was excellent in the ring. Rev Pro is fantastic. But I think one thing we do need to get back onto though, because we've 15 minutes of amazing comments there and a good discussion. We'll come back to them throughout the show. So keep your comments in, guys. Keep getting your questions, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll check back.
How dare you? How dare you?
Well, Charlotte's near the middle 5 is what he's saying. That
the middle
20, surely.
The middle 25.
Look, I've
just never rated her.
Yeah, I think if you start looking at her in ring and you put the character behind it, she is very good in the ring. She has good matches. My problem is I can't stand the sight of her. And I don't mean that in like an attraction way. I mean, I'm sick of her appearing on wrestling shows. So anyway,
I'm going to say this now. I'm just going to say this now, right? Just so everyone can just grasp it, right? And I'm just going to say this in the nice way possible. The reason that Charlotte Flair does not get in my top 5 anytime is Charlotte Flair is only relevant when you have a world title on her, because that's the only time she ever actually seems of interest. When she doesn't have a world title, it's like watching. It's like watching paint dry. There's just nothing there. No substance, no style, no interest, and a switch off. When she's got a world title, you do see something, because you see that she's got that little bit of cockiness, that little bit of like that arrogance, that attitude. That's why she does not get in my top 5. It's why she's not even in a top 10 for me. I don't care if she's a 14-time world champion. Like, I honestly don't care if she's a 14-time world champion. At least her dad, for a 16-time world champion, even when he didn't have a title, he actually still was relevant. That's the difference. She wants to be her dad, but her dad actually had what mattered most, with a title, without a title.
But even though he was in a different time.
Flair was always, but true. With or without a title, Ric Flair was always relevant.
In a different time.
True, but I'll use an example.
The time comes into it a lot, because Ric Flair would have been doing territories. He would have been, for many people, the wrestler. It would have been Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair.
True.
Ric Flair and the Horsemen. It would have been these people.
Okay. Now
Charlotte is now one of a larger group on a worldwide company.
Okay, I'll use a modern example then. A very more modern example.
David Flair, no.
No, actually, I was going to say somebody who I respect the accomplishment, but I've never always been a big fan. And I'm going to say this now, John Cena.
Yeah,
with or without a title, he was always relevant.
Yeah, but let's not get into the, we're comparing apples to oranges to say that we can compare John Cena to Charlotte Flair.
I'm not saying at that level, but there's a reason I'm using that comparison though, because
John Cena has like nearly Rock levels of appeal. All you have to do is look at SmackDown.
I also think Bayley's more relevant than Charlotte Flair ever will be, because with or without a title, she will always be relevant. She has that
Reece,
factor.
To move the topic on, I wanted to throw a little quiz your way. I'm going to read some quotes, and you're going to tell me who said them. But these are all the same person.
Okay.
So he said, "I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't use drugs. That may be boring for some people, but that's just me. That's how I live my life." He said, "Sometimes things don't go your way, but you get up and keep going. Black cats cross my path all the time. I'll break a mirror. I have no regard for superstition. And I'm angry, I'm old, I'm tired, and I work with children." You sort of spoiled the game, but it was CM Punk. And for some reason, this just shows how mental this week is. Because this isn't the top story. But CM Punk is reportedly open to negotiating a return to AEW.
I saw that, yeah.
So what do we think of that then? So it's almost like 2023, they went, we're just going to hit the reset button and everything's back where it should be. Vince is back on the board. CM Punk is back in AEW. We're just, press that reset button. And William Regal back in WWE. We're just returning people now. Everyone's just going back. CM Punk.
Yeah, I really don't understand this at all, because because the reason I don't understand this is because there's been genuine comments in the past couple of days as well from certain people. One of them being recently defeated Ring of Honor World Champion Chris Jericho, who says he will do everything at all costs to prevent Punk from returning to AEW. And for all the stuff that Jericho's done in his career, the one thing I will say though is I believe him completely. I completely believe him. I genuinely think if he had, because he does have that sort of stroke, because he's been in the business for 4 decades. I literally believe everything he says. He would do everything to stop him. No doubt about it. Certain people with a level of influence will stop him, but there's also other bits of influence that will get him in. And Sharv, I was going to highlight this and come back to it, but I'm not. I'm just going to put it straight away. It will 100% ruin locker room morale. Don't go near him. Completely agree with you. Willie, straight up as well, is all hype, but boring to watch. There's been times where generally he is good to watch, but then there's other moments where he really is boring, and it's just...
Yeah, but I think you also have to look at his dance partner. People would go to his MJF matches last year. Well, MJF's endlessly entertaining. Hangman Page is a great worker, and I didn't really think that he and John Moxley had all that of a barn burner, particularly if you compare it to John Moxley versus MJF, which was a much better match.
Certainly agree, yeah.
Thing is, CM Punk's fractured the AEW locker room without being back. Because Dax Harwood, one half of the most buried tag team in the world, FTR, who lost their New Japan tag titles to the team of Yoshihashi and Goto, I think. Yeah, what are they called? Fish or something? I've forgotten its name. Something like that.
But it says it all. Like I don't think they're necessarily buried. I just think there's something in there for them in the long term. That's why they're losing everything.
I think they're going back to WWE.
So do I. They have to get these titles off.
Probably next year. Because apparently their deals don't run out. And I think Cash has gone on the record to say he'll take a year off. So, That's
Yeah,
something.
to get ready.
But Dax Harwood's headed up we're in the camp of CM Punk coming back. And it seems to be that on that side, you have people like MJF. Again, this is just, if I was speculating, who's on that side? You'd have people like MJF, Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs, Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, Sting, Christian, probably.
Wardlow as well.
Wardlow, yeah, probably. And there's a real divide when you then look at the side that would be opposed to it, which are obviously Kenny Omega and the Bucks.
Hangman.
Feel like Hangman Page, obviously. I'm not sure how John Moxley would feel about it.
I also think too that he
Chris
also
Jericho, obviously.
yeah,
Not a fan.
And I was also going to say potentially two guys that he got on really well with in Ring of Honor, but potentially I think opinions may have changed since. I would also say Bryan Danielson and Samoa Joe.
Danielson and Joe would definitely be on the side of CM Punk coming back. Yeah, very, very good point. And maybe Castagnoli as well.
Yeah, I think
there's a
Wheeler
very
as
clear
well.
divide, isn't there? There's a very clear divide.
Yeah,
and it's
this is
almost
true as
like
well.
AEW's got two halves to its company.
Yeah, and that's what worries me.
And side one is the wrestling side, and side two is the sports entertainment side.
Mm-hmm.
And the elite lot want to do the sports entertainment. I genuinely believe half the stuff that the elite do is out of bitterness and a grudge that they're not the names on the posters of the WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble and things like that. And that's why when they had a tryout, they went and deliberately flunked it. You know, or did they even refuse it? I think they flunked it, didn't they?
Flunked it, I think, yeah.
Yeah. But at least their story is they deliberately flunked it. And of course, there are three sides to every story, yours, mine, and the truth. So we'll find out which one it is maybe one day. Tricky to say. But yeah, so Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Brian Cage and Orange Cassidy and Danhausen and Hook. Well, tough to say for Hook. He's shaking hands with the wrong people. The Best Friends, the Dark Order, Jericho and the Appreciation Society. They seem to all be on the sports entertainment side of things. Let's make this as silly and as funny as possible. But on the other side, you have such a divide. Like, they're so divided against this group that are just wrestlers. Dax, Cash, Starks, MJF, Punk if he comes back, Danielson, Joe, Castagnoli,
Sting,
you said,
Allin,
Sting,
all of them.
Allin. And it
Even
creates almost a
Okada
50-50 split of the on-screen personalities in AEW.
Absolutely.
That if CM Punk comes back, you could be looking at a walkout.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with you. And there's actually other people as well. I was literally just thinking about it because it's not just in ring that has to be considered as well. It's commentary. Because you look at it as well. Jim Ross is an old school pro wrestling guy.
Yep.
Tony Schiavone is old school pro wrestling.
I don't know about Tony Schiavone. I get the feeling he's on the elite side, and I only get that because of his commentary being very sort of point and laugh. And isn't this great? You know.
Possibly. I just think he's just feeling into the crowd.
But
I do still believe he's also
Ian Riccaboni, definitely.
Taz, the Big Slow,
Caprice Coleman, he'd be on the wrestling side.
Excalibur. There's so many to consider. Like generally, who actually would be for and against, and the other big one as well. Which side is Tony Khan actually going to physically be on? Is he going to be on the side of the VPs? Because they're also in link with him, or is he going to be on the side of what he wants to be? He wants to be a pro wrestling company, but still have that sports entertainment side of it because it generally brings in the entertainment for the fans. But he loves pro wrestling. It could
be the thing that brings into question what can the EVPs actually do? Because what it seems like is they've named them EVPs. True. The Elite hate WWE. They're the only reason AEW was created. Yeah,
and to give something up and to give a different option because Impact at the time was failing.
Yeah, if you count Cody as an extension of the Elite, I would agree with that. I think Cody Rhodes was probably the biggest factor to AEW, besides, of course, Tony Khan's money, because it was his bet with Dave Meltzer that said that he couldn't run All In. And it was his bet with Dave Meltzer that said that he couldn't do it again. Of course, Double or Nothing was AEW's by the time it rolled around for the initial time. But All In wasn't AEW's. That was just All In. That was the show that had New Japan people on it, and it had the future AEW roster on it, and it had some people that we're not going to mention on it as well, who have left the wrestling business for things that they can go and rot for.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think you're right that it creates this divide. I just think that Tony Khan has to side with the EVPs if the EVPs have any modicum of responsibility, power, or anything behind it just being a title. If it's just a title that was given to them, then just make every unhappy person an EVP. We can have Miro as an EVP, and we can have Andrade as an EVP, because if you're unhappy, just give them an EVP. If it doesn't give them any company power, there's no reason for it to be there, and it is more of like a gimmick. If it does give them power, Tony Khan can't go against his EVPs, because his EVPs will walk out, or his EVPs will turn the company against him.
Yep.
And it's not Tony Khan's money running it.
That's the
Khan
question.
has the money from his father.
He can pull it if he wanted to.
Exactly. So it is definitely something to think about. And it's weird, as I say, that wasn't the top story. Just shows how crazy this year has been.
There is also the circumstance as well that this year as well, AEW obviously will be in the UK as well. You've also unfortunately it'll be at Craven Cottage, but we all know why. But that is also happening. I look at the circumstances, and it's such a big year for them that the decisions they make is going to be so tight, but it could be so costly as well. They've got to get it right. The one thing they can't afford to do is have an upset locker room, have an upset personnel, upset behind the scenes. They've got to get it on a solid working track, because recently as well, shows have been great as well. The fantastic work they're doing is genuinely clear as day. But there's so much madness. I'm not sure how it's going to fade out, but Omega definitely helped. His presence is absolutely outstanding, and same. I already know I'm going to one show again. Me and Eilidh will be talking about that very soon.
Yes, when it comes to what are we looking forward from this year. Hopefully some quieter weeks of news, but also, we will come on to that.
Mm-hmm.
That comment was interesting, the Kenny Omega one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get that. I understand why you would say it, okay? But Kenny Omega wasn't a mainstream name. Not as mainstream as Cody. US audiences looked at Cody, Chris Jericho, and Pac. And some of them knew Kenny Omega. Some of them knew the Young Bucks. But not everyone was watching New Japan. Everyone was watching WWE. So people would have known it was Cody. And people knew Chris Jericho. I would probably actually say Chris Jericho was the biggest name.
I still think he is the biggest signing that AEW have ever had. Unless they got something bizarre in terms of what he's actually brought in, the appeal.
In terms of impact, I'd probably say Moxley, because that was direct. He was on the screen.
I mean, it was great for that, but I think,
and then he appeared elsewhere, and that was sort of, that was really the declaration of war, if Tony Khan wanted to call it that.
Understandable. I just think purely for the base of how it was going to go, that was massive.
Sometimes someone...
I've not seen it, so I can't.
Okay, I haven't seen that quote yet, boy. But I mean, if that's someone's opinion, then absolutely.
Kenny Omega is fantastic.
And if Tony said it, then absolutely, Tony can think that all he wants. But I think I've said on the show several times that I don't think Tony Khan But I think he's out of his depth. Go back to, I think it was Willie earlier said it was like the Titanic. Well,
Yeah.
Tony Khan is floundering in an ocean that he does not belong in. Yeah, again, I get that, but what is the audience on New Japan proportionally to the US wrestling fan base? These shows that get 2 and 3 million viewers a week, and we're talking about before AEW was formed, we're talking about people who knew of Cody from like the early 2010s. What were the ratings like then? 4 million?
Yep.
So more people probably knew Cody. More people definitely knew Chris Jericho. That's a guy who'd been on WrestleManias. That's a guy who beaten The Rock and Stone Cold the same night. You know?
I said this before he got announced.
Yeah,
And
you were the the announcement of that.
I pretty much confirmed before Jarrett announced it, before mainstream
You'd
like
said
chat.
it before he turned up in the whole Darby Allin Sting business.
I know I was like 3-4 weeks in advance. Like that's how good I am. I said that that he would, but I'll tell you now, he's done nothing yet of circumstance. His role has done all he's done is do tag team matches. He hasn't actually like the what he was actually brought in for has actually not happened yet. Is it going to happen? I don't know. But I said long in advance that they need somebody like Jarrett. Long before they
Jeff
got
Jarrett was probably instrumental in booking Craven Cottage. You know, the stadium Tony Khan's dad owns.
probably, like the banter of it all. But I was well in advance, and I said that they needed somebody like that. But we'll see how it goes. But
yeah,
in
do you think
terms
Jeff
of
Jarrett's a nostalgic shout?
Yeah.
So
Straight up.
yeah, it's interesting. We talk about nostalgia. We talk about looking back, because that is what the next part is. And I'll let you finish the point that you're making, but the segue was too good. We're going on to, so everyone in the comments, throw things in. We want the best and worst of 2022 in wrestling, first of all. And then I think we're going to cap the show with what we're looking forward to in 2023. Am I right on that one?
We are indeed, yes. So I'm going to go off the bat. The best thing, Clash at the Castle, 100%. It's the best thing I experienced last year as a pro wrestling fan. Experiencing it live in Cardiff at the Millennium Stadium. Well, the former name, I should say, the Millennium Stadium, but it was absolutely fantastic. I absolutely loved the environment. I loved the fact that I was just above the entrance ramp. I got to see everything from a good angle, good view. Videoed a lot, like pictures, everything. I got to enjoy that. Worst thing, Vince McMahon as a human being, and obviously what came around from it. But those are just two examples for me. But just in general, seeing the rise in change for several pro wrestling companies that I've watched for a very long time. It was great to see substantial change that has improved product, but it's also improved longevity overall. And I'm looking forward to seeing what 2023 brings on that. Another thing for me that I really enjoyed, the changes in Sami Zayn. I think that's been fantastic overall. I like the upbringing of that. I've enjoyed the continuous improvement of Death Triangle as well. I'm a massive fan of Death Triangle from an AEW perspective. Seeing Ring of Honor return in some fashion, although I'm looking forward to seeing Ring of Honor return to TV. And lastly, for me, getting to the point of another good thing that I enjoyed, just getting to see the past live. I just have to say it. But the worst thing as well, people are like, I would still have to say Bloodline worst. And it's not because I think they're awful. It's just they've been doing the same thing for the past couple of weeks, and I'm like, that's really derailing. I mean, I think some of it is fun, but some of it's just so repetitive. I'm losing interest, and I'm just not a fan of Liv Morgan as well. I'm just not a fan. I think she literally ruined any opportunity of being a good world champion for me. And speaking of world champions, Ronda Rousey, she ruined the entire year with her presence because she's an absolute git.
Yeah. Ronda
How
Rousey
would you know?
was...
How would you know it was legendary? You fell asleep.
Ronda Rousey gets my reward. We're talking like the reverse, Golden Globe here. I think Ronda Rousey had the worst year. Yeah, I saw that comment come in. Very, very wise of you.
Well,
and yeah,
funny.
of course, the worst.
Still laughing. You fell asleep.
I think Ronda Rousey. It would be very tricky for you to come up with a wrestler who, on screen, we're not talking about things that Vince McMahon did, and we're not talking about brawl out. I'm talking about purely from an in-ring standpoint in the company. So in-ring and storyline, if you really must bring both things in, I think you could bring both things in and still make the case that Ronda Rousey had the worst 2022. No memorable match. People actively hated Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair to the point where I completely blocked out my memory and forgot they did it earlier in the year.
Same.
She had terrible matches with Liv Morgan.
Not a rumor. You told me.
After she was, of course, cashed in on by Liv Morgan because WWE just wanted to rush a moment. Ronda Rousey then wins it back very predictably and then has an awful match on pay-per-view with Shotzi. Ironically, her best performance of the year was the Raquel Rodriguez match, even.
I agree.
It was the one match I've watched from her this year. Last year. I was like, that's actually not that bad. I was able to watch it, and I think a lot of that's down to Raquel and how great she is, and I do hope big things are in store for Raquel Rodriguez or Gonzalez, whichever one they want to go with. I believe she was actually called Gonzalez on commentary once, wasn't she?
She was, yeah.
I heard that. It's like, yeah, Raquel Gonzalez, and I was like, so is she Gonzalez again? But no, she's still Rodriguez.
Speaking of Gonzalez as well, like the turnaround from AEW, that is not NXT this year as well, has been fantastic, and the continuation of talent product from AEW as well. They're building as well, and Forbidden Door's fantastic, and actually comes on to a worse moment, the injury to Adam Cole. Like that's one of my worst moments, unfortunately, just because he's such a massive loss to pro wrestling. He's absolutely brilliant. But another great one is Ospreay. He's had 2023 altogether absolutely amazing.
Okay, has Yeti Boy mentioned Orange Cassidy there to wind me up, or is that just?
I think he genuinely enjoyed that match.
Okay, I mean I did too, but I really like Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay could wrestle a broom.
I love the guy. I think he's amazing. Cody Rhodes' return certainly is in there. And Seth Rollins' year in general. I mean, that Royal Rumble casual walkout was class.
So if Ronda Rousey had the worst, and do you agree with that? Did you have a different?
Oh, she's worse for me, 100%.
Yeah. Did you have a different pick for the worst? No, it was Ronda.
My overall worst. She's the worst wrestler.
Okay.
2022. Worst altogether is Vince. Best for me was the year of Rollins. I think 2022 was literally Rollins' year, not Reigns, even though Reigns literally was world champion the whole year. Ospreay as well, and like the good side
I wanted to put a name forward for who in the end got my I was deciding between the two of them. I ultimately went with Seth. But this was very close. I think Gunther deserves a mention.
He was fantastic. Him and Sheamus this year have completely.
But then even coming out of that feud, obviously he's had two great matches against Ricochet. He had a great match with Nakamura. He's been fantastic.
Yep, exactly. And to confirm this, what happened to EC3? He is now stumbling in the NWA. I mean, the fact that he's got short hair and a beard, and he genuinely looks awful. I mean, I think even though he is going to end up a champion again, I think he has faded. I completely agree with you.
He'll become a champion again when he controls his narrative.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So Bray Wyatt. So you're saying the Bray Wyatt return's one of the best there? Sorry,
He is,
yeah,
yeah.
Sharv. You're saying that, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I would agree. I think it brought Extreme Rules up
It did.
a couple of notches. Obviously the main event was great. I think there were a couple of very good matches on Extreme Rules. I mean, I really enjoyed Finn Balor versus Edge for the general sort of soap opera storytelling that it is. And to be fair, that's one of the best parts, I think. Sort of the redemption arc of the Judgment Day. How we went from this is really interesting to suddenly Edge isn't the leader. So they want to make it supernatural. So it goes even further down. And then it's like they're not going to make it supernatural. Dominic Mysterio's here, turns on Rey Mysterio at Clash. They get booed. Oh,
Yeah.
and Rhea Ripley's fantastic.
Yeah.
So a whirlwind of a year for the Judgment Day. But I'm glad that
Belair, she's had the best year in my opinion.
um
From a woman's side on WWE, like I think she's just had since she came back from injury, she's just flown completely.
yeah, can we mention Mandy Rose, or are we not
Yeah.
doing that?
I mean, I still would. I mean, like a million a month on her other things like that she does, but like she had a fantastic year, and I still think 2023 is the year of Cora Jade.
Yeah, I remember seeing Aussie Open. I went to Royal Quest. Was that 2019? Can't remember the year. But yeah, Aussie Open are fantastic. I think they fought God. I should be able to remember that. But yeah, they did I saw them on Royal Quest. It was good to see them. And hopefully they continue to get opportunities.
It was smart to do that. Yeah, I hope so as well. And this is true. Addition of Dom was a master. Yeah, it was.
The thing is, I remember just like, okay, how's this going to work? You know, we're not going to boo Rey Mysterio's kid. I said, oh no, we're going to boo Rey Mysterio's kid already.
And the fact that he's went to a 2000 Eddie Guerrero look says all mullet.
I know the thing where he's like, "Oh, prison changes a man," sort of thing. It's like, dude, you look like 12. Shut up.
It's just really funny. But
yeah,
obviously he's now spoiled it. He's obviously now spoiled it because obviously he's he's got himself engaged. So anything to do with Rhea Ripley now just feels like,
I know.
Okay.
At least wait for the story to play out, man. I mean,
exactly.
Jeez, oh.
I would like this as well. Yeah, I would like that. There's certainly a lot to it, but I suppose the only thing you could say is, well, 2022 had its moments, good and bad. The one thing that at least we will get from it is hopefully a very good 2023. So far, it's already been chaotic, and I'm well up for that.
Well, hopefully there's enough good things in place. So if we're just making sure if we covered everyone's comments in that. No, Sharv there with Ric Flair's final match. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just glad that I didn't bring it up and somebody else did because I just
I'm glad Ricky Steamboat said no.
Because he thought he would die in the ring. What an honest man.
I'm glad that didn't happen.
So do I.
You know, but then he's like, "Oh, I might be in the Rumble." Like, please don't, Rick. Please don't.
If he gets in the Rumble and he gets flung over that top rope and he bounces, I genuinely think that'll be him. Big Show, like a random return by Big Show, and just picks up Ric Flair and just tosses him out in the announce table, and that's it. It's game over for Ric Flair. Yeah,
it could be bad. There
is actually another good thing. There was actually another good thing from 2022, because we were all recording. You can watch them. Is all the Undertaker shows that he's been doing across the states. Obviously, he done one in Wales.
Yeah.
He has got another few coming up as well. Generally, him sitting and talking is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I still can't listen to it because he doesn't sound like Undertaker.
I know.
Where's the gristle in your voice, man? Come on.
Nobody wants this racist, bigot, overrated, incredibly fugly, useless world champion. Yeah, Hulk Hogan, extremely overrated, and he's the worst world champion of all time.
Are you not getting to the Brock Lesnar level there?
No, because at least Brock Lesnar had a good. No, he had a good year.
Who was it? It was Billy, wasn't it? And on the
Aye.
show, he said, "Do you think Brock Lesnar's overrated?" No. I also don't think you can say that to Hulk Hogan.
Thank you.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think he's a good wrestler. Okay, I
Iron
don't.
Sheik owns puny Hogan.
But I don't think he's overrated just because of how easy it was for people to get his image. And
Hogan is definitely
it
overrated.
depends. What is if he's overrated purely as a wrestler? Then yeah. Although you've also seen footage of him in Japan, so maybe not. As a drawing appeal, everyone dreams of being Hulk Hogan. And if
I
Hulk
don't.
Hogan came out in the Royal Rumble, the babies would go in the air.
And all the people who actually remember what he's like as a human being, hopefully would not give him an attention.
Reece, remember Vince McMahon appeared on a show after it was made public that he had, he had cases of assault that he'd settled outside of court and everything like that. He came out, he opened a show, and the fans gave him an ovation.
Yep, gullible, pathetic human beings.
So if Vince gets an ovation, I'm pretty certain Hulk Hogan would.
Sadly, and I hope to hell I never see him again on TV. I hate Pukamania. I always have, and I would never. And I'm glad that he lost twice to a man better than him, and that's The Rock.
I still think I'd rather see Hulk Hogan return than Ric Flair. If I had to have one,
I'd rather see
I
neither.
think I'd rather have the Hulk Hogan return because I think that's more of a talking point. Because he hasn't said anything about it. So imagine it's like, who's going to be number 14 in the Rumble? And then Real American starts playing. I think he's just going to try and get me to bite. And I'm not going to do it, Yeti boy. I'm not going to.
That's why I sat
2023, I'm going to follow a bit of John Cena and I'm going to rise above your hate. And we're going to. Jack Briscoe, Ric Flair. I mean, that's more your era. I've certainly heard good things said about all of them.
They're all great. They are definitely great. But you're also forgetting one other famous world champion who I would also put in the best category. Harley Race.
I've heard of him too.
He's the only man that Andre the Giant was scared of.
And of course, Cody Rhodes.
Scary enough that Andre the Giant, a man so big, a man so tall, a man so revered, was only afraid of Harley Race. A man a full foot smaller than him.
Well, he's a hard nut, tough nut to crack, they would say. Tough nut to crack.
Well, that's
so going forward into 2023, I just wanted to basically pitch some lines, some threads that we have. So you know how you say things are set up to be exciting, and comments absolutely get involved with this as well. But I'm just going to say it in a word or two, Reece, and then we're going to say what we think should happen. But I'm going to let you lead. So Bloodline.
End it at WrestleMania.
Okay. To who?
Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn to win.
Yeah.
Sami Zayn to get the belt.
As much as I think Cody Rhodes win the Royal Rumble would be absolutely fantastic, I do see a change happening at the Rumble after Owens gets beat. Personally, I would rather have Cody Rhodes win the world title so I could see Rollins versus Rhodes again, because that was the feud of the year. But Sami Zayn in general, the way it's building, it just seems inevitable. It's going to end up happening because he is having that unfortunate impact that not many people would have thought Bryan Danielson would have had again, but he's having that where he is fundamentally changing the course of events. Cody Rhodes was the one that they thought was going to be the world champion, but because of how much change Sami Zayn's actually had in the bloodline, has completely turned it on his head. So as much as I don't want him to do it, it looks like it's gonna happen. I would say Sami Zayn to do it, but I would rather have Rhodes. He's more of a believable champion, but having Sami Zayn end it because Roman Reigns is completely unstable makes it more interesting. So yeah, End it at Mania. And I would say as well, you know what I would, and you know what I want as well. I want Reigns to lose. I want Reigns to compete both nights, and I want Reigns to lose both nights. I want Rock to beat him, and I want Sami Zayn to beat him. Done. Finito.
Yeah, I get that. I don't see them going with Sami Zayn. I think you've had Yeselmania, you've had Kofi Mania. I don't quite hear WrestleZania happening. The more that I see it happen. So I obviously said, if Cody doesn't win the Rumble, it's going to be Sami Zayn. But I think they've groomed Cody so perfectly to come back and do it.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if you... I don't know what they do with that. Because Sami Zayn, you don't want to have the situation with Cody. No, if that was going to happen, they would have done it in September.
And there isn't exactly anybody who, in the nicest way possible, there isn't anyone English to actually go and take the world title because Pete Dunne isn't there. Well, Butch. Okay, that's not going to happen. But like, although that would be entertaining, you're not going to see that. Right, like McIntyre was closest you're going to get in terms of UK. Sheamus as well. Don't see happening. Nah,
yeah, I mean, we thought we were getting Reigns Sheamus at the Rumble, and we don't know if that's still going ahead.
No, obviously, it got confirmed last night. Confirmed last night. It's Reigns versus Owens.
That's confirmed.
Yes.
Okay, so and Reigns versus Kevin Owens.
And hopefully the referee remembers not to stop the count deliberately this time.
So how do they marshal Sami Zayn off into the tag picture that they clearly want him to go to? Because that's what they're going to have to do before the fans, like, so that the fans don't turn on Cody.
There's still, the Elimination Chamber to come?
Yeah.
Could happen in there. Something could happen. What happens, I'm not sure, but something can change.
I feel, but you know what I mean? It feels like they have to turn him away. It feels like they have to distract the fans. And the problem is, as much as people go, Sami Zayn's the perfect bloodline narrative, Cody is the perfect WWE narrative.
Yeah.
Cody, with that heroic Hell in a Cell performance after the massive return, being the former face of AEW, comes back. He's had a vignette on every pay-per-view. Like, they have played that same vignette with maybe a little updated scene. And then, of course, the poster came out for Royal Rumble, and Cody's on it.
I don't think he'll be defended inside the chamber. They got it wrong last time, and there's not enough guys to do it, in my opinion.
I feel like Gunther just needs to keep having 1v1 defensive and continue to look strong. And I believe they're going with Brock versus Gunther at WrestleMania. Will that be for the IC title? We don't know. But that's what we think. We think that, well, basically you say that WrestleZania happens, and I will trademark it before Sami Zayn does. WrestleZania.
I certainly think it could happen, yeah.
They will have to pay me boatloads to free that trademark. I think they will still go with Cody, but I fear that that's going to get the fans to turn on Cody. And it would be completely unfair, but that's the case with wrestling. It moves and it changes, and while you're gone, someone takes your spot. Ask Mustafa Ali.
To be fair, it is actually really funny when you deep dive it. It is actually really funny. It is good that they're bringing it over here. I was surprised that they brought another show straight back after a year. But actually,
I didn't think it was going to be less than a year. Soon, yeah.
I thought it'd be maybe 2 years on. Like,
I was thinking 2025.
Yeah,
and
like,
that they would want to go to other places first. You know, I was thinking, are they going to do a Europe event, or are they going to try and go back over to Japan?
I also think Money in the Bank in London is the last ever Money in the Bank event, and then 2024 Money in the Bank goes back to WrestleMania as an exclusive match,
and then we get WrestleMania in Murrayfield. I completely agree.
They have to have a WrestleMania over here. Like, they need to have the balls to do it.
It would be insane.
The
next,
best fans are UK fans. Even
yeah,
even they admitted it themselves. Like that says it all when an American who runs the company and one of your main guys who's a 14-time world champion says the best fans are UK fans.
yeah.
Says it all that they've had SummerSlam here. Now they've had Clash after 30 years. Now, following year, you're having Money in the Bank. Eventually, you're going to get
what
WrestleMania here.
sort of success Money in the Bank brings, because if the same sort of
Old
thing
Two Arena's
happens,
crazy.
we could see something pretty big happening. Okay, I guess I'll swap my pitches because Money in the Bank was one of my pitches for you. So early predictions here. What do you see with Money in the Bank? Who comes away with it?
I'm getting greedy here, but I have three possible names.
Go on then.
In different directions. Direction number one, Gunther. He's had a fantastic year with the Intercontinental title. It's only natural that he goes on to be world champion, but he goes on to world champion by not taking the easy way out by taking the Money in the Bank, but he takes the Money in the Bank and he just completely abandons the horrible cash in and he just goes for, right, I'm claiming this now. I'm challenging you straight away. Well, not straight away, but he goes to the world champion, you, me, SummerSlam. So that's all. That's my first one. That's my first one. Option number two is Karrion Kross. And I've said this numerous times. Karrion Kross in 2023, I generally think could be a world champion. He has that believable factor. He's still having solid matches. He's had, simply put, one feud that ended really quickly, but had believable factor, and that was with McIntyre. His return was fantastic. The fact that he stole McIntyre's thunder at Clash as well, by not even competing, he just stood there, stole McIntyre's entire presence of, and obviously Solo eventually stole it as well. But you have that. He has got a believable factor. So that's two heels. The third one I have is Babyface. And I want to see if anyone can guess it. So I'm going to throw this. So I've named two heels. Can anyone guess my babyface option? And I like Shar's idea of really getting Money in the Bank, but no, I don't want to see that again for some time. But I would have
thinking because it's you. Yeah, I was thinking because it's you, it's going to be Butch.
You think it's going to be Butch?
Yeah.
It's not, but I would have him in the match. But okay. You know what's funny? I would have him either in the match or I would have him become US champion.
US champion. Oh, because then I suppose he could win it and then he could
go to
carry
Raw.
Around the UK championship instead.
Yeah, he could do that. But I would also have Butch finally go to Raw and be on his own. It's not Xavier Woods.
And maybe not be Butch anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, are we on the same page that this Butch thing, yeah, it's fun, we'll deal with it, but when he breaks off from this group, he better not still be Butch.
Yep. So far, Sharv's guessed Xavier Woods, you've guessed Butch. And it's not them.
Read Yeti Boy's guess.
I know. I'm laughing at that. It's absolutely funny.
Oh, you got me. You got me. Thing is, it's not like you cash in to be the Prime Minister, because I mean, it seems like you win it in a raffle these days. Braun Breaker. Is that your guess? Is that your pitch?
Bingo.
Wow. Okay.
I said this, and Sharv knows this because I'm in a wrestling group chat with him. I said after WrestleMania, Braun Breaker has to come up to the main roster, and it's all about timing. No joke. No joke. Honestly, I think Braun Breaker could get that immediate opportunity and win Money in the Bank because he's believable.
Oh yeah,
he's genuinely believable. So I've got the Gunther factor because he's had a solid year. Karrion Kross because he's got a believable gimmick that's actually wrecking people, and it's hard to deal with. And Braun Breaker because you need to find a way to bring him in. But unlike Austin Theory, sorry, in that sense, and I also to Xavier Woods, because I actually think he's not a bad idea. When you think about Austin Theory, it got massively wrong because they held on to it for so long and they went in the wrong direction. With Braun Breaker is actually correct.
Okay.
What about you?
Right. Well,
You could also have a heel McIntyre win.
he wouldn't be heel in the UK though.
I wouldn't be so sure about that.
Oh, he definitely won't.
I
How are
think
they going to get him to turn on the UK? There's literally a video of him training in the Highlands.
No, not him turning the UK. Not turn on the UK, but you could actually have him turn heel.
Okay, but if he turns heel, that doesn't change that the UK won't boo him.
It's already getting that way in the US.
But he's not from there.
No, he's not. But you could still have that believable, you could still have that believable factor. It could still be believable. It would be hard, but it's possible.
Yeah, I think I would pitch to you Bray Wyatt.
Ooh, deadly.
I think I would pitch to you AJ Styles.
He deserves one last title run. Yep.
I think that's a perfect way that you can get him into a feud with Cody, and they could just fight.
I wonder if you're
also.
While. I wonder, because of the direction you're going on based on names. There's one other man I'm thinking of. Are you also thinking Finn Balor?
No.
I was thinking maybe you said Finn Balor.
No, Finn Balor didn't come into this thinking. My third one is out there, as out there can be out there. But I also can't claim ownership of this because it's a seed that's been planted in my brain. Tyler Bate.
Wow.
Ever since Greg mentioned the possibility of Tyler Bate returning, it's been in my head. If you want someone to win the Money in the Bank in the UK, and it's not going to be Butch, and you're not going with Drew McIntyre, Tyler Bate has had enough spotlight on him. He's appeared enough times. He had the NXT TakeOver matches, of course. He's a former NXT UK Tag Team Champion, former NXT UK Champion, possibly inaugural.
He was,
yeah, inaugural, and then.
Yep. And he was also a year older than me.
And then Pete Dunne had the belt for ages after he beat him, but some fantastic matches. Yeah, I think Tyler Bate would be a good way to go. I think he's plucky. He's so young. Tyler Bate's like 23, isn't he? 24?
Tyler Bate is literally a month older than I am. He is a month older than me. He's
on 7th of March, 1997. So he's 25.
Yeah, a month older than me, and he's a local lad. He's a localish lad from there. He's from Dudley.
He'll be 26 when the event rolls around, and I think it would work.
And just look at what he's done. For example, I mean, this says it all, right? Inaugural champion. He's the only two-time champion. He's held the NXT UK Tag Team titles, the NXT UK Heritage Cup. He won the UK Championship at the age of 19. Which says a lot. The youngest singles champion in WWE history by a long distance, but it beats Orton by 5 years. It's obviously won the Shikara Campeonatos de Parejas, Progress Tag Team Champion, RPW Undisputed British Tag Team Champion, and he's done that with Pete Dunne as a British Strong Style. Fantastic team.
And if he needed a manager,
Trent Seven can come back as his manager because he trained him.
William Regal
won't get there though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh hell, nah, not for me.
Oh, Logan Paul's Money in the Bank would be awesome.
No, not for me. Embezzlement in the bank.
Embezzlement in the bank.
I wouldn't have Logan Paul. There's a reason I wouldn't have Logan Paul as a Money in the Bank winner.
Okay.
He already gets those big matches anyway. He already gets the big singles match. What's the point
It's
in him in
almost
Money in
like
the Bank?
if he gets Money in the Bank, then
It defeats the purpose.
it was like when the Fiend was the Universal Champion. People were already tuning in to see what the Fiend did. You didn't need the Fiend to have a title.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was even worse because the Fiend was meant to be invulnerable, and if you make him a champion, that by definition means he's not going to be invulnerable because he will eventually have to lose the title.
And
But that problem isn't there, the invulnerability one. But I do agree with you. Logan Paul versus Roman Reigns was one of the best matches WWE did last year.
it was.
Top 3, I would say. Certainly top 3 from my own enjoyment.
I have to include that in my own
But
top
they
3.
could bring Logan Paul back in anyway. If they announced Logan Paul was against AJ Styles at WrestleMania, you'd be all over it. You know?
I know.
Or
Except
Logan Paul's going to fight Seth Rollins. Logan Paul's going to fight Kevin Owens, John Cena, Austin Theory.
Mm-hmm.
Logan Paul's a name that brings a lot to it. So I don't know, I think he'd be entertaining as Money in the Bank. I suppose my main concern would then be how full time would he be?
I don't think he'll ever be full time, unless he changes his whole schedule and he stops being a fake boxer.
Which is a shame because has he had a bad match yet?
No.
He had the tag match. He had the 1-on-1 with the Miz. He had a couple. Was he not in a
couple of segments on a couple of segments on Raw and SmackDown, which was good.
Matches he had on Raw, didn't he? Because AJ Styles,
yeah,
did AJ Styles put him over?
Yeah, because he allowed him to. Because he it was to do with the phenomenal forearm, and then obviously he had the world title match really quickly as well, which I disagreed with, but it did actually make sense in the end. But I disagreed with it. Yeah. But I do not want to see him get Money in the Bank because generally it halts far better progress. His status already gets him a good caliber match anyway. There's no point in him being Money in the Bank. I do appreciate the mention. I like the idea, but for me, hell no.
I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So
Tyler Bate though, that is a deadly mention.
Again, I can't take credit for it. Greg planted the seed. He didn't say he was going to win Money in the Bank. I think he said Tyler Bate was going to be the fifth man for the War Games.
He did. That's what he thought. Yeah, we didn't get it unfortunately, but
before it was Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a shame.
It should have been Tyler Bate though.
My next 3-letter pick for you.
Go on.
M. J. Depending on how the camera's saying it. F.
What about him?
Well, where does his year go? Obviously, he's in his last year of his contract now.
Renews his contract, stays AEW champion for a while, and then gets rinsed by Ricky Starks later in the year. I think Ricky Starks will take that title of him. They had a great match between each other at the end of the year. End of last year, I thought it was fantastic. Ricky Starks was all over him. Generally owned MJF as well. It's so funny, but I'm looking at it. I think he's renewed his contract. They're just going to play out throughout the year, and they're going to play it into 2024 as a continued storyline. But I genuinely think you'll see a long-term feud between him and Ricky Starks. I think Ricky Starks has got another big year coming, but that's what I think for MJF. That's what I think.
So tough to tell. On one given day, I could be like, yeah, MJF will stay with AEW. But on the next given day, I could hear him talk about the best can, Saint Nick, and how he loves Triple H. And you wonder, he's brilliant at playing a character and playing off this gimmick. But is he that good?
That's the question.
Is he that good at lying to himself? And can he keep lying to himself? You know, or are those lies eventually going to be truth?
That's the $1 million question.
And if that is the case, MJF drops the belt to CM Punk, doesn't he?
I hope not. I'd rather see him drop
it. If CM Punk comes back, that's the feud they reignite.
Yeah, I would much rather see the world title go to someone like Osprey or give it to Pentagon Junior just because it's pure bias, or give it to
Did you say
Starks.
Osprey there?
Yeah, if he
Do you think
somehow comes
Will
across,
Osprey would come over?
I think Osprey can continue to dominate in Japan for another year, and I would say maybe in 2024 Osprey decides, you know what, let's see how I fare. Comes back over. You know who else I'd put back over just because I've always liked him and it'd be really good? I'd love to see Okada be AEW World Champion.
Yeah, I
It's highly
think just
unlikely,
about
but I'd love
everyone
it.
would love to see that. But of course, Okada just claimed back his crown in what was, of course, I mean, as ever, a fantastic Wrestle Kingdom main event.
Yeah, I'm going to say this now. I do see why, but personally, I don't. And the reason I don't is they're far too similar.
Yeah,
I don't think that
like
works.
Miz is obviously the one to take a back seat, but I actually think a Miz MJF feud's better to get MJF through the door
Yeah,
than to have
they're
Miz
far
and
so similar.
MJF team up. Yeah, it's you're gonna have sort of that interchangeable thing to it. It's better if MJF comes in just like, yeah, I'll go for the Miz first because once you're
Yeah.
gone, I'll be able to be a better Miz than the Miz.
Hmm.
And obviously Miz is coming to the back end of his career, and we don't know what's happening with the reality show stuff, and he's really sort of just disappeared into the background with this whole Loomis and Bronson Reed storyline. I don't know what's going on anymore
I know.
with that. But yeah, so I think the final three letters I want to throw at you is ROH. What do Ring of Honor do?
I'm hoping that they take at least 20 of that AEW roster that isn't getting enough TV time, takes them to Ring of Honor, and they're there permanently. Because the one thing they need to get the ball rolling with Ring of Honor TV, get it back up and running, get back to Ring of Honor shows. I really want to see more Ring of Honor. I've always liked it. I was annoyed that it ended, but I'm hoping that with somebody who's already been in the AEW scene since the inception in Tony Khan, at least they've got somebody who at least will want to do something. They need to get back making the shows, keep the Ring of Honor titles away from AEW because it's already made it more complicated having so many championships. But just get them back free flowing and just get them going and stand by it this year. Don't drop it. But yeah, anyone that doesn't get a lot of TV time, I would put on AEW and build a genuine roster. Claudio, I always thought that Jericho would be the world champion to start Ring of Honor TV. I thought it would be the best shout, but they went back to Claudio. Let's see how he fares being the main man of a restored company. See what happens, but that's what I hope for this year. That's what I hope.
Yeah, I hope that they're able to get their own thing together. I feel like it could be the way out for that whole problem we were discussing with CM Punk.
Go there.
But I don't then know. It almost makes Ring of Honor more appealing.
Yeah.
Because if we took that split that we were talking about earlier, the sports entertainment guys stay in AEW, and the Ring of Honor guys, so the wrestling guys go to Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor becomes one of the best wrestling shows in the world, and AEW gets dramatically worse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who's Ring of Honor got? Danielson, Joe, and Castagnoli, and Punk, and Starks, and Hobbs, who I don't think we mentioned earlier, and Allen, and Sting, and this guy, and that guy. What's over the other side? Well, you can watch the Elite versus the Dark Order again. Chris Jericho's doing a segment with the pizza guy. All of a sudden you're like, I don't think I want to watch this one anymore. And I don't think Tony Khan would let his baby become worse than Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
So, in a way, it could be his way out. But he's not going to make all the sports entertainment guys disappear over at Ring of Honor.
No.
Because then they'll lose the AEW fan base.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky one. But I'm with you. I hope that they find a way to do a roster split, if not a brand split. But if they do a brand split, do a brand split. Just do it. Put enough people on each side of the fence on each show, scrap Rampage, and have
Yes.
AEW Dynamite and Ring of Honor run it, or put Rampage on YouTube if you must. I know you love your YouTube, Tony. Run Dynamite and Ring of Honor the way that SmackDown and Raw run. Run Rampage like NXT if you really need to. I don't think it gets enough viewers for that. NXT outdraws it.
Yep.
So, there's real consideration there. I was going to ask you about NXT, but we don't even know who's going to be there. So I suppose the final thing that I want to point out, and it'll literally be just a minute or two, we of course know that a major indie name has joined WWE. He announced it. It's done. It's Dragon Lee.
Yeah.
What can you see coming for Dragon Lee on NXT?
That's the interesting part because they can go in so many directions, but there's one direction I really want to happen.
Go on then.
Please go after Carmelo Hayes.
Okay.
Carmelo Hayes is in my opinion, the best guy on NXT bar Braun Breaker. I know a lot of people prefer Waller. I like Waller. I think he's fantastic, but I so think Carmelo Hayes is so much more well-rounded. I think he's so much more entertaining. I think he's a far better draw. Who better than Dragon Lee to go for than him? It just makes sense for me.
Yeah, and when we're talking about wrestlers who are a lot younger than they sound, I mean, it feels like Dragon Lee's been around for ages. Do you know how old Dragon Lee is?
I'm not 100% sure.
He's 27.
He's only a year and a half older than me then, 2 years. Jesus.
Yeah, he's been wrestling since 2013.
I know. Kushida did fail, I know, but I think direction's key. I think Dragon Lee will be alright.
Yeah, Kushida was there at an awkward time because they obviously wanted to shift everything and push the new guys, and 205 Live really didn't help.
Yeah, that really didn't help.
And it's a shame about Kushida because he is find any of his old New Japan matches fantastic, absolutely unbelievable. And of course, the Pro Wrestling World Cup, which was also a real treat to watch with Kushida in it as well. But yeah, so Dragon Lee, that was just something that caught my eye. Apparently, his tag partner is going to join him there as well over in NXT. I don't quite know who that is.
Well, that's interesting then. Will he be
again? I've heard reports. I don't claim to have. Oh, here we go. Drolistico. Thank you, Wikipedia.
Will he be in the tag team scene, or will he be single, or will he do a mix of both? That's interesting. Yeah. I'm looking forward to either way. I want to see what they do. I want to see what they do and what we get because we deserve something.
He, Axiom, and Drolistico form their own little group. Like the new Lucha House Party, but this time better.
Find out.
Yeah, it's exciting anyway. Everywhere from NXT to Ring of Honor to AEW to WWE, New Japan, and even the promotion that I won't even mention because it's terrible. Every promotion across the board has things to look out for in 2023. And of course, you guys have something to look out for in 2023 because we will be covering as much of it as we can, as on time as we can, and hopefully as entertainingly as we can. So join us for another fantastic year of the... I don't know if he's been serious. I saw Sol Ruka's debut and I didn't see much. Anyway, you can hopefully keep up with us on the weekly Steelchair throughout the year as we'll all see the chaos unfold together. And then you can join us on Saturdays, Sundays, or whichever day we end up talking to talk about that chaos, to troll me with Brock Lesnar and Orange Cassidy, and to troll Reece with the fact that he's terrible at quizzes. But Reece, I will let you do the honours. Anything you would like to add?
I kind of expected that comment to come. Great show. Great to come back for like for 2023 kick off. 2022 really was fun for the Steelchair. We've done some watch alongs, and we are going to be doing several throughout the year as well. There will be Ironman quizzes. There will be 4 in 2023. Bookmark that. It'll be every 3 months. So we'll do one in April. We'll do one in June. Nah, we won't. We'll do one in July. One in October, and then conclude it at the end of the year. So it's going to be like we'll do it seasonally. It'll be like for the 4 seasons, 4 quizzes. But we will have them. 2 of them will be hosted by me. 2 of them will be hosted by Eilidh. So we'll do it like I'll have the first one of the year. Then Eilidh's going to have the 2 in the middle.
Yeah, ABBA. I like that. I love some of their early work.
And then so I will start the year. I will end the year.
Yep, everyone's favorite Swedish pop group, ABBA.
Absolutely. And instead of gimme, it'll be points. But that is the
Lay all your questions on me.
Yeah, and it's going to be well balanced. It'll be balanced topics, balanced questions, a lot of fun. That'll be us. We will be doing, obviously, we actually do have a quiz coming up very soon as well. Because the Royal Rumble.
Yes, of course. You versus the champion of the Ironman quiz back at the end of the year, which was Billy, was it?
William, yeah.
William.
William will be taking on me.
I mixed up Bill and Will.
Sorry, I think so. Do many as well. Kill
Bill. So William will be facing Reece. That's before the Royal Rumble,
and he'll be on the watch along as well. That'll be doing. So yeah.
Okay. Well, sort that and let me know if there's anything I need to do for that. In any case,
we're gonna do it on the Rumble. We'll probably do it on the Rumble preview show.
Okay. Cool.
So we'll fire that in. But we're gonna do that. Obviously, myself and Eilidh, etc., will be going to Money in the Bank. But I'm probably going to stay in London a few extra days just to experience London because I've never been. But when we get to that period of time, obviously, because that'll be the 1st of July, there will be no show on that Saturday. But we may do one like during the week, like say, for example, like my days off has changed. It's now Wednesday, not Thursday. So we may have to do then, like just a show that we could do. I
may treat the people the Ironman then, you know.
Possibly, yeah. But we will certainly do something. But we will definitely do something.
We will be here.
Yeah, but every week, unless there's like a change in our circumstances, if it's not the Saturday, it will be the Sunday. But one thing is for sure, Steelchair in 2023 won't die. To comment Matt Hardy, he'll never die. Well, he will eventually, but he'll never die. But
I don't think he said it like that.
Yeah, but Steelchair will definitely bash through 2023, and for that we say thank you. We say thank you to everyone that's tuned in. Some great comments, great questions. We've really enjoyed it. Everyone that has tuned in for 1 hour and 53 minutes, thank you so much. And to us, happy Steelchair New Year. And we'll see you all next week for another clash of heads. Or as I call it, a clash of metal. Bye guys, and we'll see you next week.